Hi, today I want to talk about custom APIs, and this is the way that we have to create reusable pieces of code, functions that we can use from anywhere, from inside or outside of the Power Platform. So Canvas apps, Power Automate, flows, JavaScript, or even your own application in Azure or your own server, whatever it is. Now, this is not PowerFX functions, which is all this new thing that is coming up and is still not mature yet. That is basically PowerFX, so Canvas apps functions that we can create and reuse from any other place as well, from Power Automate Flow or a Canvas app. This is rather something that if you work with other systems like SAP or any ERP, Dynamics, Business Central, or whatever system, you can create code that is going to be executed in the context of the server. And it's the most efficient way that you can extend the functionalities because it's directly coupled with the server code, with the Power Platform environment in this case.
Hi, I'm Andres and welcome to my channel. Here we dive deep into the world of Microsoft Power Platform development and governance. Please don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up to show your support. And if you're looking to develop solutions for your business or need training and support for your technical team, feel free to reach out through the link in the description or the pinned comment. Now let's get started with the video.
All right, so let's try to learn about this using a real example. What we're going to do is calculate the payment terms for an invoice that comes from a supplier. So we've got a supplier invoice, and for each supplier, we might have different payment terms. For example, it's going to be next business day, or 7 days from invoice date, or 30 days from the end of the month. So what we would have here is this is the invoice date, and this is the payment terms option that we want to use. And what we're going to do is call a custom API that is going to here calculate the due date for the payment for this invoice. So basically, if it's 12th of March, if it's 30 days from the end of the month, it should be the 30th of April, right? So if we calculate, that's it. If it's next business day from invoice date, it's the 13th, of course, and so on and so forth. Now, this is from a Canvas app, but what if we wanted to execute this from a Power Automate flow? It would be the same. Let me run this again. It's from the Spanish version of the video. So here we would say, let's pick the 12th again, 30th from end of the month. Basically, we run the flow, execute, and just very quickly, this is executing the function in Dataverse, and basically, here you go. Oops, this is the input, so we want to see the outputs. Here we go. Calculated payment due date, 30th of April. Now, of course, we could use the same action, the same function from anywhere else, even your own custom application. So if you have something to do with Dataverse from your own server, your own third-party application, you could integrate using not only the web API, but inside the web API, you can create your own custom APIs inside the context of an environment. I hope that makes sense. All right, so how does this work? First, let's take a look at how we can use it from a Canvas app or a Power Automate flow, and then I'll show you what are the steps that you will need to follow to create your own custom APIs. So let's go to our solution, and what you'll see here is that we have basically a custom API related components, and then an assembly, which is the plugin, which is the actual code that is going to be executed in the server. And of course, we have this flow and this Canvas app that is using the custom API. So from the context of the Canvas app, what we have to do is import and get the table. It's not a table, but it's when you add data here, you look at for environment, and you'll see these two environment definitions and environment variable values, and also this just environment table. You import it, and from there, after you do that, you will be able to use any custom option and using environment dot whatever it is. If you check it out here, you can say environment dot, and you'll see here all the actions that are available for your own Power Platform environment. It's actually pretty interesting to see how if you click AI, some of this stuff that you see here, AI sentiment, summarize, record, translate, these are actual AI builder models. And when you use the AI builder connector from Power Automate, you are actually calling these custom APIs. Well, they are not custom, they are APIs from the product that use AI builder. So you start to see how everything is built inside in the internals of the Dataverse when you start using these more advanced features. I recommend you try to uh, dive deep into that direction. Anyway, so what we are doing here is basically storing this variable, the result, calculated payment date from this custom API, and the parameters that we are sending are the payment due date and the payment terms, which come basically from this control. So this would be the due date, and this would be the payment terms, which is basically a dropdown. Now, this dropdown, I have hard-coded these values as strings, but it could be from an option, so from a choice that you have a global choice or a choice bound to a specific table. And then when we trigger that, we just show that into this text control. Now let's take a look at how we use the same function from a Power Automate flow. So here we have this action perform an onbound action, and what we have to say to do is provide the action name and the parameters, which in this case come from the manual trigger flow, but it could be wherever, right? Now, if you haven't used this, basically you have to pick the Dataverse connector, and here you will see perform an bound action or an unbound action. We are using this one, unbound action, and the explanation is the following: a bound action is tied to an entity, to a table, and an unbound action is independent of a table. So with this particular case, let's try to understand the difference. Here we have an unbound action because we want to calculate the payment terms generally. So maybe it's not only about payment terms, it's a more generally used function to calculate dates. But if it's only going to be used for invoices, for example, the table called invoices, then we can use a bound action. And if we do that, let's uh, pick it up here, you'll see that it asks you to first select a table name. So you would select the, well, I don't have any table with a name here, but imagine that we have invoice here. Oh, we do. Well, invoices, and then we would have here the available actions for that one, and then we have to provide the ID of that specific row that we are acting against, and then if we had any parameters, it would be provided here.
Looking for help? We can assist you with consulting, custom development, and training for your development or digital workplace team. Go to my website, fill out the contact form, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible.
Right now, let's talk about how you can use the same strategy, use custom actions in your own solutions. Now, this is not going to be a step-by-step tutorial. If you want a tutorial in that direction, let me know in the comments, and I will try to make time to record a more step-by-step tutorial. So, high level, what we are going to do is we're going to create a plugin, a C# plugin. Then we are going to create a custom action, and basically, after we do that, we can use it wherever it is, a Canvas app or a Power Automate Flow or wherever. Now, if you haven't worked with plugins, what do I refer to about plugins? Plugins are pieces of C# code. And please don't get scared here because I am not a C# developer. I do have experience with JavaScript and PowerShell, extensive experience there, but I'm not a C# developer. However, I know how to use Copilot and ChatGPT, and I understand what I'm trying to do here. So if you have those two ingredients and you understand what you are trying to do, and you know how to prompt to an AI like ChatGPT or Copilot, you are golden. You can do this yourself. So how can we perform all these steps? First, let's talk about why we are and some of the history why we are using plugins here. The plugin is the way that we have to create program code that is going to run directly inside the server. Let's call it like that, inside the Dataverse environment, and it's the most let's say, because we are compiling it and adding it to an assembly, we are creating the most performant way to extend the board platform. The con, of course, is that we need to know a little bit how to work with programming languages. But now with AI, I think that barrier has brought very, very low again. Now, why is this interesting? If you have worked with Power Automate before, you will know that in the triggers, you can select, for example, when a Dataverse row is modified or created or deleted. And in the context of Power Automate, when you create that flow, you are reacting after the thing has happened, but you cannot react before the thing happens, for example. And if you need to do that, for example, a great example is when a row is deleted. What if you want to perform some action before the row is deleted? If you only use Power Automate, you cannot do that. But the moment you start using the what is called the event framework here, the event framework, you can do uh, actions in the pre-validation, sorry, the pre-operation or the post-operation here, not this one, these two steps, okay, which is before the thing happens and after the thing happens. Now, also, if you look at online, there's an article from Forever, and I have done this approach as well. You can create actions to do that as well. Actions are called are this low-code way with the old Dynamics UI, but we are not in that part now. We are creating a custom API. If you want to know more about that, how to do it in a more low-code way, have the pre-operation, let me know. Back on track now. So basically, we are going to create a plugin. How can we create a plugin? Well, it's very simple, and there's plenty of literature online. I recommend that you follow this article here from Richard Carrigan, okay? Because we are using Visual Studio Code, which is free, open source, very lightweight, easy to use. Then with that, you can do everything. Let's follow these steps. High level, so we have to install Visual Studio Code and the extension called Power Platform tools. When you do that, then you are provided with lots of tools that you can use as an admin. If you're interested in governance, let me know as well, and for development purposes. When you do that, then from the terminal, you have to run these commands, pack in plugin init. Okay, with this command, what it will do is basically create, because we are only need to work with this file, but here we have plenty of other stuff. Boilerplate is usually called, which are, let's say, things like the configuration stuff that is needed for this to be imported into the Power Platform. All this stuff that you don't need to learn about, you create it automatically using this pack plugin init. After that, you write your own code, and here you use AI to write the code. You only need to have your understand the input parameters and the output parameters here, which is the output that you want to provide to your Canvas app or your Power Automate Flow or whatever it is. And after you do that, you have to run the command .NET build, and this will compile this program into an assembly. Okay, actually you have here, probably it's in the tutorial, and somewhere in here, .NET build, yeah, exactly here. And then after you do that, we will create a package, a .dll file that you will be able to import into the Power Platform, but you don't do it like a solution file. You do it using this tool called PRT, plugin registration tool. And basically you here write pack tool PRT. Yeah, exactly. Well, tool PRT, and this is going to open a program here now that is going to a plugin registration tool that's going to allow you to register this plugin into the Dataverse environment. Here you connect to your instance, your environment. It's on it. Now, I will see something like this because there are already plugins there that are created by default, because the whole Power Platform runs on these things as well. So you will see things that are already existing in any environment. And here, well, I have here my own, but in order to register, you follow the steps. There is this information online as well, and in the article, and basically you have to here register new assembly. Assembly, let's say, is a synonym of plugin, and you just here pick the, oops, have to pick it from the file explorer, this DLL that the .NET build command generated, and then just follow along with the dialog. And after you do that, then you have the plugin, which is basically this artifact over here. You have the plugin assembly, and now you need to have your custom API, which is this thing over here. Let's take a look at how does it look like. because it's a recording database anyway. So it will have a name, and we will assign as a lookup the plugin that this custom API uses. So we first create the plugin, then we create the custom API. Plenty of stuff in the. Also, you have to know how to do that in Microsoft. Um, with this is Visual uh, sorry, Studio Code, but not Visual Studio Code, you know, the big one, the big program. Instead, what we want to do is use here, register the register new custom API, and here you will just give it a name, select the solution where you want it to be, what else, and then here you select the plugin. Okay, the plugin needs to be in a solution, so that's why it's not appearing here, and you can do it afterwards. The important thing is that you fill in the request parameters and the response parameters, which is the in parameters and the input parameters and the outside parameters, and basically a dialog here, the name, the type, money, the currency, pick list, string, float, whatever, datetime in our case, optional or mandatory. The checkbox very easy to use. And once you're done with that, then you will have this custom API in your solution here. And there's, I mean, it's very simple, very transparent here. We have two parameters, custom request parameters, the payment due date, the payment terms, and one response property, which is the calculated payment date. And this is what you have created when you use this plugin registration tool, first with the plugin, second with the custom API. Once you do that, then it's going to be available for you to use in your custom app. If you don't see it immediately, be sure to, in the solution, click the Publish All Customizations. And then after you do that, you will see that right away from the environment object here in the Canvas app, or as an on-one action here in Power Automate. Well, and that's that. If you prefer a step-by-step tutorial, because it was a quick one, let me know in the comments. I will try to make time to record that. And well, as a summary, what we've done is basically create a custom API, which allows us to have a reusable piece of code that can be triggered from a Canvas app, or Automate Flow, or anywhere else from inside the Power Platform, but also outside, because it's an API. We can call it from any other interface, any other system using a programming language or a low-code solution. Well, and that's it. That being said, thanks a lot for watching till the end, and I hope I see you in the next one.